Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
The dad look. You tuck
yeah.
the shirt into jeans, and then you have white New Balance shoes.
Yes. And you wear a braided belt. And
Oh, my God.
Your phone is clipped onto your belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are back. Welcome to Sick Bay. And there are many things you can put in your ears. This is one of them, Claire-vs-Carlson show, part of the Late Night Sports Radio Network, latenightsportsradio.com. She is Claire Sniffles Mullins at the Claire 23 NFL Female Podcast. And I'm Andy at Andy Carlson Show, also with the Sniffles. It's kind of weird how Winter does that. Purple for the win, Vikings territory, football combos, all that other good stuff. We can be found on Twitter at Claire-vs-Carlson, one word, YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, all that other crap. Claire, hi.
Hello, Andy. How's it going?
You sound a little stuffy, and not just the usual
hot, right?
Old money type stuffy as you always come across.
Well, I do come across that way?
Oh, you're like,
Buffy, go ask them to bring the car around, Buffy. No, that's not me. Just sniffly, just all these weather changes and whatnot, but it's cool. It's life. Life goes on. We do things, and yeah.
You're in Kansas right now, right?
Kansas. Topeka, of all places.
How is Topeka?
Let me just tell you. Okay, I'm not a landlocked state kind of girl. It's just not what my preference is, and that's fine. I work in landlocked states. It's fine. But it's flat, and it's boring. And then I find, now, I think Kansas City is probably different, but in these smaller semi-metropolitan areas like Topeka and Wichita, people who work in the service industry, I can't find anybody that has a personality or has a little bit of politeness to them.
And by service industry, you mean bartenders, which you've been hanging on like a barfly.
You don't even know. You don't know, Andy.
And besides flat and boring, I mean, why are you talking about yourself in high school?
I wasn't flat in high school. I was an early developer, but we don't need to go into that.
We were talking off air that you should be like 5'8", except you're not. Because when I first started talking to you, do you ever get a picture of a person from their voice in your mind's eye? I pictured you as being like a 5'11" person.
Which would be pretty hot, except for that. I kind of like being 5'4". It's a good height to be. I don't want to be real tall. But I have scoliosis, and so my spine is like twisted, compacted about 4 inches. So I should be 5'8", but really I'm 5'4". So I don't know. It's a good height. I don't want to be taller than everybody. I don't want to have to like try and find guys to date who are not taller than me and uncomfortable about it and whatever. So it makes life a little easier.
Is this why you would never date Craig Biggio, because he's about 5'2"?
Look, he is 49 years old, and he still looks like a 12-year-old boy. And I don't know how that's accomplished. Well, I don't know what skincare products he uses, but you called him Bay Biggio, and I don't find him Bay-alicious or anything because, he looks like a child.
Right. Speaking of Bay, we have Totes, lots of stuff to get to. NFL, a wild card weekend wrapped up. Looking forward to the division. College football national championship coming up, even though it doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of fanfare building up to it. We'll get to that. Baseball Hall of Fame was announced, hence the Bay Biggio. We're talking other sports. It's crazy. Baseball, a little bit of NBA. Your Houston Rockets are aight. You should
aight. Full.
They're
recognize.
A full, well-rounded show today, and let's just dive in because we got to go turbo style. First one, wild card weekend. 4 beautiful games last weekend. Panthers outlasted the Cardinals 27-16 in the early Saturday game, and I feel really bad for Cardinal fans.
Well,
you start out, were they 10-1? End up 11-5, and their season falls apart when Carson Ballmer goes down.
Well, and their other quarterback and their running game. I mean, they just had a lot of bad luck, and it just happens. It sucks, but it happens, and I kind of feel bad for them because you can't control injuries, but unfortunately, it is what it is.
Do you think it's fair that they had to go as 11-5 wild card to 7-8-1 Carolina?
Well, no, but the system is broken, and I think we all know that.
Oh, it's fair.
Oh, whatever.
Win your division, son. We've had this conversation before. And Ryan Lindley was literally one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. I know he's about the 6th worst playoff quarterback statistics-wise, but just from the eye test, he was horrible. 16-28, 82 yards, 1 touchdown somehow, 2 picks, and a 6.1 QBR, which is hard. That's on a scale of 100.
Yeah, it is hard to accomplish that QBR rating.
And just throwing out the stats, he did not look like a NFL quarterback. It wasn't even close. He wasn't even Tyler Palko.
No, he wasn't very good. Well, he's Ryan Lindley. I mean, no, what did people expect? The fact of the matter is Arizona couldn't get a single thing going on offense. They had 78 total yards of offense, and they made Carolina's defense look outstanding. And maybe they're better than I give them credit for, but their opponent just looked awful. And so, I think the best thing about that game, which I kind of want to make fun of it a little bit, is the way that Cam was running around that stadium when there were about 10 people in the stands, and he did like the loop around the entire stadium after the game, like he had just won the Super Bowl. And these 10 fans were there to congratulate him.
That was there. Thank you to the fans, as it's likely
I think that you can do it. I think that you can do it without running around like you just won the Super Bowl, like the confetti's flying.
It's Cam, though.
It's Cam, and that's just funny to me because Cam is kind of douchey.
Oh, wait, no, it is for sure the last game because 2-3.
Right.
Green Bay and Dallas. We'll get that right. But Carolina, 7-8-1. If they win, one of my favorite things is the America's Game documentaries on NFL Network. Have you seen those?
Mm-mm.
All right, so it's just a recap every year of the Super Bowl run.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
And
I know what you're talking about.
If the Panthers somehow, it's not inconceivable, but if they get a win in Seattle, win the NFC title game, win the Super Bowl, could you imagine that America's Game? Just like the Greg Hardy incidents, letting Steve Smith go, having to play him earlier in the season, Cam's car accident, Ron Rivera's house burning down. That's a hell of a story.
It would probably be pretty good. I mean, they got hot at the right time, which is always key, I think, going into a Super Bowl run, getting hot at the right time. And they met a team who got cold at the right time for them. And so the chips sort of fell in a fortunate manner for the Cardinals, and good for them. I mean, that's what you want. You want to set up your team so that when it counts, they can go on a run and tear up the opponents. And that's kind of what they're doing right now.
And you feel bad for Arizona, but they could have drafted Teddy instead of Deion Buchanan. Even though Buchanan, I really like him as a safety. Could have had Teddy. I was like rubbing it in since.
You were rubbing it in about Teddy? Shut up. I don't even believe you.
Teddy B. See, now I'm starting to hate the that I've become because I'm starting to rub Teddy in other people's faces.
Oh, really? You're starting to hate it too, huh? Okay, just checking.
No, because this is how Packer fans must feel when they're talking about Rodgers.
Yeah.
Even though we'll get to him and the golden calf. Wrapping up the wild cards, Ravens romped the Steelers 30-17. Wasn't even that close. No. Le'Veon Bell did not play. Could have really used him. And what do you think about Bell saying that he wants to play in the Pro Bowl? He was elected to the Pro Bowl, but I think playing in a meaningless exhibition game a couple weeks after your team just got stomped out of the playoffs, no.
That you couldn't play in because you were injured, no. And that you had to basically defer to Ben Tate running the ball and fumbling the ball, yeah.
Oh, that is the Ben Tate Bowl. That was You're My Bull Bay because we both have ties to Ben Tate. And when he first got the first 2 touches of the game, I was like, oh, my God, this guy, he's going to have 100 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns just to troll us.
I would have, well, I was going to say something violent, but no, that would not have been cool at all.
But then he ended up being Ben Tate, and I think he ended up with like 8 yards.
He totally Ben Tated it.
Another run for Hell Flacco and the Ravens. I don't know. We'll see. They go up to New England. I really like their chances this weekend, even though New England has a much better defense than they've had the last couple times they lost to Baltimore. But, yeah, we'll get to all of that at the end of the show.
Okay.
Sunday's first game was the traditional Bengals first round playoff exit as the Colts toy with them 26-10. Andy Dalton didn't play bad.
No.
He wasn't terrible, except they're missing A.J. Green, Jermaine Gresham, Marvin Jones, Eifert, and pretty much everyone else and their mama. And they just didn't have enough weapons. And Andrew Luck, I love this man. I know you don't. I know you don't. Oh, he is. It's almost hyperbole about how good he is, but
I'm gonna murder you.
It's not.
I'm gonna cause physical harm to you.
Other side of the coin. Marvin Lewis now 0-6 in the playoffs, including 0-4 in the last 4 years with Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
What? I realize that Cincinnati has been terrible pretty much this entire time, aside from the Steve Wyche years, Sam Wyche, sorry, up to the. I know, is it Steve? Sam. Anyways, before Marvin Lewis, but he's not getting it done. What does Cincinnati do?
I am so unsure because during the season, you'll see those flashes where, oh my gosh, this could happen. But something happens in the postseason, and I know that there were a lot of injuries this year, and you can't control that. But Andy Dalton is unable to take that step to the next level. And yes, he was working with a skeleton crew. But Marvin Lewis seems incapable of preparing his team. I mean, the secondary for the Bengals, what happened to them? Their pass defense coming into that game was pretty darn good, but they fell apart. And they do that. They do it every year in the playoffs, and not just the secondary, but something happens where that team loses it and they cannot get beyond their own mind, in my opinion. You
know what the team is missing?
What?
Mike Zimmer.
Oh.
And then Paul Guenther calling out Geno Atkins after the game, even though Geno did have a pedestrian year after coming off the ACL. Yeah. It's Sam Wyche, by the way. I just triple-checked. But Marvin Lewis, he's a great regular season coach, obviously cannot get done in the playoffs, and Cincinnati's got to ask himself. I know that they're probably not going to fire him because since Mike Brown is so damn cheap. But at what point is good not good enough?
Right.
I mean, Cincinnati, you could frame it that they've made the playoffs the last 4 years, but they're 0-4 in the playoffs the last 4 years. I know that's a great run of success in Cincinnati, except do you really think that Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton, could you ever realistically see a playoff run with both of them?
The thing is as a fan, you don't want to go back to that below mediocrity level. You are fearful of, well, if we clean house and we go through 10 years of sub 500 seasons and never seeing the playoffs, Cincinnati's been there. They've done that. That sucks. But is it worse to every year get to the playoffs and be pretty sure going in that you're just going to lose and you're not going to get beyond that? I don't know. I mean, sure is nice to be able to go to a playoff game every year or at least cheer for your team in a playoff game. But when they lose, every time I don't know. It's a hard call. They have a lot of soul searching to do in Cincinnati, in my opinion.
Ooh, speaking of hard calls, Claire, that is a perfect alley-oop setup. That was a Jeremy Lin to James Harden alley-oop. Wait, no.
Ooh,
Lin doesn't play.
Lin?
No, he doesn't play in Houston anymore. Cowboys rally from 14 down to tame the Motor City Kitties 24-20 on a call that is going to be talked about for a while. Anthony Hitchens did not pass interference with Brandon Pettigrew. I'm sorry, I'm all scatterbrained, all his cold meds. But the referees initially called pass interference on Anthony Hitchens on a 3rd and 1. I don't know why Detroit was passing on 3rd and 1. Anyways, They eventually picked up the flag and giving little to no explanation to the television audience. Apparently they explained it to the stadium crowd. But other than that, And after the game, Dean Blandino, head of NFL officiating, said that holding should have been called. It was pass interference, and also the Des Bryant running out of the field with no helmet was okay, apparently. that was apparently a very big sticking point on the whole Twitter machine as it blew up after the call. No doubt saying that, they're handing the Cowboys the game and blah, blah, blah. But in my opinion, that single call did not cost the Lions the game.
Absolutely. I mean, they allowed 2 strip sacks on their quarterback, the Lions did, after that play occurred. And they made some questionable play calls on 4th down where Jason Garrett had the balls to actually go for it on 4th down and, convert. So you wonder what Jim Caldwell, if he is, I don't know. I saw him in Indianapolis for a few years. I wasn't that impressed with what he did, and I was actually surprised he got another head coaching gig so quickly, given as how